Hey, everybody. Here's a quick word about our sponsors. First one being LASRApp. You can find them at www.lasrapp.com. They're a laser activated shot reporter. They're amazing what it can do, all of the things that you can do with it, multiple guns, multiple locations, any type of target. They have a smorgasbord of items on their website store. Check them out. Use the affiliate link below or on our website, casualshooterpodcast.com, and use the code CSP 2021 for up to 15% off items not covered by the affiliate link. Next up, we have Gun Butter. I am one of those people that I clean my gun all the time because I feel like you've always got to clean the crud and put a fresh coat of lubrication on it. That's because of the stuff we had to use in the military. I didn't like it, but I have finally landed on something I can get behind, and that is gun butter. I did not shoot. I'm. I did not clean my gun at all at Nationals. I did not clean it after the match before Nationals, nor the match before that. And there's still gun butter oil on my gun. And I'm going to be using their grease on the lugs of my bolt gun. Next, we have HOIST. It is IV level hydration. It's clinically proven to absorb 110% faster than water. You've got all the right ingredients of your electrolytes that you need: magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium. It's all in there. A little bit of sugar, but that mixes the right amount to make it absorb rapidly so it's not sitting in your belly and weighing you down. So check it out. Get hydrated, stay hydrated. And thanks for checking out our sponsors. It helps with the podcast. Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week's guest is the brother of a guest I interviewed back in December. He's a limited master shooter in USPSA. He was second at the Iowa sectional, 11th at Racegun National Shooting Limited, and 27th at Carry Optics. Join me in welcoming to the show.
Howdy.
Boom, there we are.
Here.
Why don't you take a second and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so you kind of gave the USPSA rundown, but outside of that, I'm 18. I've been shooting USPSA for about, I think this is my 4th or 5th year. Been doing it pretty heavily since all 4 years. Like I said, a master. That's some of my finishes last year, and I'm a freshman in college, so I'm balancing school and shooting and job and stuff like that. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. That's kind of the USPSA and my life.
Oh, okay. You said job. What are you doing?
I'm actually a financial representative at Northwestern Mutual, kind of an advisor, like a financial advisor.
And I'm sorry, you're 18, huh?
I am.
Okay, that's going to bring up a few more questions once we get into the whole college thing here in just a second.
Oh yeah.
But we'll come back to that. So you told me before we went on the air that you listened to your brother's episode. So you know the toughest questions are the first 5 questions.
Absolutely.
All right. So did you cheat and study?
I don't even really remember all 5 of the questions, but
good.
I do have a general idea. I think of like 1 or 2, and then
okay. All right. So the first one's probably the easiest for you then. Favorite movie?
It would have to be probably James Bond, Skyfall. I really like that one.
Okay. What is it about the James Bond movies that you like?
I mean, I like a lot of action movies, and that's kind of the epitome, I guess, of an action movie. And plus, I just like Daniel Craig as an actor. I think he's a good actor. And I like a lot of his other James Bond movies and other movies he's in. So it's kind of all around good for me.
Is he out as James Bond?
Yeah, he did have his last James Bond movie, I think last year.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I think you get some good actors in there that play the role well, and just due to the way they do it, they rotate them out and rotate a new guy in.
Yep, we'll see.
So, what about in less than 60 days, Mr. John Wick is going to be back?
Yeah, I saw that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to watch that 100%. I've seen all the other John Wicks many times.
Have you
And
seen?
yeah, I'm looking
How
forward to
about?
that one.
Have you seen the trailers?
I haven't really. I try not to watch too many trailers because I feel like I don't know. I just don't like watching them because I feel like also they don't really give you a super good depiction. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm for sure gonna go see it.
It's like a minute and a half of cocaine. Yeah,
There we go.
it'll get you amped up. It's a heck of a trailer. Holy cow! I can't wait for it.
Maybe I should watch the trailer.
You might want to watch the trailer. It's going to be a good one.
Okay.
Um, all right. So this is the one I tend to find that everybody has the most difficulty with because 50% or more don't read. What's
hmm
your favorite book?
So just recently, it's actually it's a book on Formula One. It was written by Lewis Hamilton. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but with Lewis Hamilton and that. But I got really big into Formula One about a year and a half ago. I've been following it like in depth ever since, and it was just about how he started off in go karts and makes the jump to Formula One and becomes the greatest Formula One driver of all time. And it's a good book. I liked it a lot.
I don't follow Formula One, but I do know the name, and I did know he was a driver. So, where do you? What state are you in?
I'm in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, so there's no Formula One racing around you then.
No, the closest Formula One race is Austin.
Okay, and that's not close.
Nope.
If you're into it, who's your favorite superhero?
Iron Man.
Oh,
He's just cool.
okay.
He's just a
All
cool
right.
guy. Yeah.
He's like a self-made superhero.
Yeah. He doesn't exactly have like the superpowers, but he's got a cool little.
Uh, Neither does Batman.
Yeah.
So, but they're still superheroes. So, now this next question is your favorite gun and your favorite caliber, but they don't have to be married together. Just because you shoot limited doesn't mean your favorite caliber has to be 40.
Favorite gun, probably a 2011. I just really like it. And then probably my favorite caliber. mm, I'd probably say 9 millimeter.
And why would you say that?
9 millimeter. I mean, it's just a super fun round to shoot through, whether it's a PCC or a pistol. There's not a lot of recoil or anything like that. It's very manageable and it's just fun. Um, I mean, I've shot a lot of PCCs with it. I love shooting them. And then, in particular, a 2011 with 9 millimeter. I know you said it doesn't have to coincide, but it's a really soft shooting gun and it's a lot of fun.
I feel like 9 millimeter is the adult's 22.
Yep, that's exactly it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right. So let's back up for just a second. What is it about 2011s that you like?
Probably, there's a lot of options, but at the same time, there's not a ton you can change. There's, the different barrels like hybrid barrels, side blocks, and gold barrels and stuff like that. So there's a lot of versatility in the platform, but it's all under um, kind of one umbrella. There's a lot of dimensions at each part. They all have to fit their own dimensions and tolerances and stuff. And plus, I think the craftsmanship that's required to build a good 2011 is impressive. So if you're building a high quality 2011 and you're getting an incredible fitment and stuff like that, I think there's just an art to that, and I really respect that.
Well, they definitely look nice. There are very few 2011s that you look at and you're like, oh, that's not a good looking gun. They're very
Yeah,
aesthetically pleasing guns.
very much so.
Is there anything about the trigger? I mean, does that draw you to them or?
I've never been a huge trigger snob. I mean, I've shot my carry optics guns a City X5, and I I have a gray guns trigger in them now, but originally the stock trigger was fine for me. I'm not a huge trigger snob. I'll probably end up always upgrading my triggers um, at some point, but I don't ever chase a pound and a half trigger in a 2011. I think the one in my gun right now is 2.5, almost 3 pounds, and I've never, I just don't really have a big deal with a super light trigger.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think a 2.5 to 3 pound trigger is probably perfect for competition. I don't think you need to go. I think there's a risk going lower than that. So
Yeah,
I think that's good. And I guess what I'm getting at is, um, there are plenty of just off the shelf guns that the triggers are not very nice, and
yeah,
while Glock may be a very reliable gun, I don't like their triggers. I don't like their grip angle. Their ergonomics
yeah.
to me don't work. And that's not a hit on Glock. I mean, like I said, very reliable gun. Morgan Leonhardt loves them. So,
Hmm.
that's not a hit on them. That's just me. That's why I was asking, what is it about the 2011? Uh, so,
Yeah. No, I feel the exact same way about Glocks. The ergonomics just don't really work for me too well, but it
yeah.
is a great gun as far as reliability.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you were saying, oh, actually, let me back up a second. So the fifth and final question I usually ask, I try to gear it specifically to the guest. So
Hmm.
here's a slight trivia question for you. I know you and your brother shot Carry Optics Nationals. Were you aware there were 5 shooters named Brown at that competition?
This is the first time hearing of it.
How many of
Yeah,
how many of those with the last name Brown did you know?
Scott. That was seriously it. I didn't even know that there was anybody else named had the last name Brown there.
Yeah, so apparently there's 3 others running around at Carry Optics Nationals with unauthorized users of your last name.
Hmm. Gonna have
Yeah,
to
you
work.
gotta
I'm gonna have to
you
figure that
gotta
out.
yeah you gotta watch these people. I've seen people
Yeah,
run around with my last name. I'm like, I didn't give them authority to use my name. I don't know where they got that from.
can't have that happening.
Never. All right, I thought it was funny. I was like, where I saw both of them at Carry Optics. Where did he place? And I looked and I was like, 5 Browns. Holy cow! And
Yeah,
just
that's news to me.
not to pass on, bad luck or bad juju or anything, but one of them got disqualified.
Oh,
Yeah.
I uh, I can fortunately say I have not been DQ'd yet in my career.
Knock on
So
knock on wood.
yeah,
Find wood and
knock
knock.
on
There you
wood.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. Now, you said when you introduced yourself that you've been shooting USPSA for about 4 to 5 years.
Hmm.
But when did you first shoot a gun?
Ooh, I would have probably been 8, 9 years old. That sounds about right. 8 years old.
Okay, so about 9 to 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Do you remember what it was?
it was a little bolt action single shot 22,
Okay.
just as basic as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, when that's about the age of what my kids were when I got them shooting, and it was a 22 rifle repeater. So just load the little tube and it go tink 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 tink. It was a great time.
There you go. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, so roughly 4 to 5 years after that, you got into competition. How do you go from shooting your first gun at 9 to 10 years old and then about 13, 14 getting into USPSA?
Yeah. So my brother Scott is the one who discovered more or less competitive shooting. In particular, he discovered 3 gun, and it was something we were very intrigued by, but we weren't entirely sure if it was something we could do at our age at the time. We definitely wanted to explore that, but being, I think he was like, I want to say, 12 when he started, and I was 13 or 14. So we really weren't sure how well that could go over as far as the training aspect or even competing, if it would even make sense to compete. But we were invited one time down to a little range down in Ottawa for kind of it's a USPSA style club match. And we started that and never looked back. Had a ton of fun. And yeah, just got hooked on it.
What did you shoot in that first match?
I shot a old Beretta 92 FS.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Scott shot his Glock, and then I shot my dad's old Beretta 92.
Now, what is the age difference between you and Scott? It's less than 2 years because he's 17,
Yeah.
you're 18.
Yep. 16 months.
16 months. Okay. Wow, that's pretty close in age. Okay.
Yep.
So did you guys do a lot of stuff then in shooting together all the time?
Yeah, pretty much back then everything was, if we ever went to the range, both of us were there in any aspect. We were both there. So we just kind of grew up and just started doing it all at the same pace and at the same time.
So did you guys train together too then?
Yep.
Even dry fire?
Together. Dry fire, sometimes it's together. Sometimes our schedules don't coincide. Scott dry fires later at night sometimes. And sometimes I'll dry fire in the afternoon. But we do dry fire together sometimes.
Okay. All right. So what has driven you to limited? What is it about limited that you like?
So we started off shooting limited minor, and open was immediately kind of what we wanted to as our end goal to be, but we just started off in limited minor just to get the basics, the fundamentals down, just how to compete basically. And then we loved shooting iron sights so much, and then open, we realized how expensive that was. And so we decided to have some 2011s built and just one per person, and to really just kind of bear down in one division and see how good we could get, and to see if we could win nationals in limited, because we both like it. High cap iron sights, fun, and I love shooting iron sights too. It's a challenge in its own way versus a dot. It's just a little bit easier, but yeah, that's kind of at least was my thought process in choosing limited to stick with it.
Now you were 11th at nationals. That's a very solid finish. Have you or do you plan on doing anything different this year or just double down on what you've been doing?
Yeah, so yeah, 11th last year at nationals. I was pretty happy with that. And this year I've already started to make some changes. The big one I've already started to make was physically. Like I started working out a lot more. I've lost like almost 12 pounds since nationals. So I've really just started to like kind of build up the physicality part of it, exploding out of positions and stuff like that. I got a personal trainer. And so I'm going to see how much that changes things. And then I'm going to really bear down on limited more this year, but we're also going to try Carry Optics Nationals again and see what happens there.
All right, I have so many questions right now. I have like 100 questions running through my head. Okay, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So I've written down. So if you see me looking down, I take notes.
Taking notes.
Yeah. So I don't forget questions. So I've got one written down about your working out, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. because I want to talk about college and I want to see where all that fits in. So, just a side note question here. There's the everybody just voted whether or not they want to see limited optics for as a provisional division for the next year. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I
Does
see it
that
more or less
interest
as
you?
being. I mean, it would be a fun division, but I don't see the point in making it anything to really explore. It's yeah, I just don't see it as being a necessary division in any way. I feel like it's just driving a wedge between limited, open, and carry optics, and it's really not necessary.
Agree. You're just splitting those people further.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, college. Are you local or do you go away?
So yeah, at least for my first 2 years, I've decided to stay local. I go to UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City, and it's a good college. Gets the job done for my first 2 years, and then we'll kind of see what I decide to do as far as my last 2 years when I'm getting my degree. But yeah, that's still totally up in the air.
Okay. Now, how local is that to, like, how far is that from where you live?
Oh, it's only a 20-minute drive, so it's very local.
All right. Now, I want to get back to the working out part. Um, do you work out at college or is this just a gym nearby your house?
Yeah, so I am basically out of my house 10 hours a day. Um, School 8 to 5, and then work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. School between split up schools on Tuesdays, Thursdays. Work is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So my gym is actually um, on the. It's down by my university. It's about a half a mile from college, and I will work out there on the weekends. And then sometimes in between classes, maybe a class got canceled, I'll go to that gym. I like working out there a lot more than the school gym. School gym's a little bit small and stuff like that. But I just try to fit in working out about 4 to 5 days a week, mostly four. But yeah,
Now, all right. The you I'm kind of surprised you said the university's gym is kind of small. Do
hmm
they have any like kinesiology, personal trainer um, degree programs where you could hook up with one of those students and they could be your trainer at the school gym? Or are you finding that that's not the case and that's why you're going to an outside gym?
to be honest, I have never really explored that as a opportunity. Um, but the real reason why I don't work out at the university gym is they have a rather like very much a split gym. It's half is cardio machines like treadmills and ellipticals and things like that, and then they have
Right.
about two squat racks and then a dumbbell bench and a couple cable machines. Whereas the gym I go to is actually by the Chiefs. It's a Chiefs gym for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's actually sponsored by Patrick Mahomes' wife. She's the one who sets it up. So it's a very well equipped gym, and I really like working out there because even when it's busy, um, there's always machines open and stuff like that.
Okay. So now that was going to lead into my other part. So it sounds to me like you're doing some weight training.
hmm
Are you doing anything specifically for agility?
Yeah, so that's where the personal trainer actually came in. I acquired a personal trainer through one of my family members who was working with him, and so I've been working with him about a month and a half now, and it's been going great. And that's been the primary focus is he'll run me through a lot of agility exercises and give me some homework to tack on when I'm at the gym that I can work on at home. And I go to him about once a week and just see the updates. He gives me meal plans and things like that. We check weight stuff and make sure I'm on the right track. and really improving.
Okay, meal plans. I want to delve into this a little bit more because one, you're 18. So two, your metabolism's going to be high. I mean, looking at you already, your build is such that you have a higher metabolism. So is the meal plan to get you the amount of protein, carbs, fat that you need in the right amount to help with gaining the explosiveness?
Yeah, so the whole point of that is really to build, to help kind of replace the lost fat with some muscle. I don't want to put on a ton of weight and have to really work as far as the agility again. I don't want to be back up to the weight that I started at nationals, but we want to keep my body fat lower and just make sure I'm getting enough carbs to keep my energy up throughout the day, and protein to make sure my muscles are growing and I'm not going to get tired and things like that. But yeah, my personal trainer. He's done all the math and calculations to figure out my base metabolic rate and things like that, and he's done the math, figure out how much I need to eat in a day, especially even if I'm just going to be sitting in the office for 7 or 8 hours and more or less on end, and just about some light walking around is all I'm going to be doing for that 8 hour period. So he's really working with me. He's working with my schedule, and we're making it happen, man.
Now, when you're at home and you're doing dry fire, do you ever incorporate any of the agility training with a gun?
Not a lot. I will do some light, like more or less position stuff, uh, just to kind of get, not even for the agility aspect as much as entering positions correctly and things like that. Make sure my feet are right. But I do, when I am doing that, I do make sure that I'm pushing off correctly and things like that. But it's not like the sole purpose or like one of the things that I focus on. It's kind of a supplementary or sub subcategory of what I'm working on in dry fire. Yeah.
Do you find that going to school full time has impacted your ability to train negatively?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it has some between work and school. It is hard to find time considering school. It's not just 8 to 5, it's 8 to 5 plus homework. And yeah, it's definitely been tough as far as figuring out a schedule. And I'm starting to really get the hang of it because it's all starting to show good consistency and things like that. So it's looking up. But at first, when I did first start it back up in school, it was definitely really stressful trying to find time and just getting back into it. I'd come home and I'd be exhausted and I just want to go to bed. But now it started to come around and we're making it happen.
I feel like a lot of it's just getting into that routine, figuring out what that routine is and making it normal.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Jack, how tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
All right. So, you meet the national champion criteria of being at least 5'13". So, you're good there. You're 5'14". So, you're in.
I am. That's good.
Yeah. So, for your height, what are you trying to, what's your goal for your weight, your optimal weight?
So I was at nationals and I was 6'2", about 183 pounds. And now I'm 6'2", about 173. In that area, it varies day to day sometimes, but the height, it's an advantage in certain situations and a disadvantage in some. But
Right.
I've really, the up and down part is where the height kind of gets annoying. You kind of go to a low court. So with the physical trainer and things like that, I've been working on a lot of mobility, like just flexibility and things like that. That's not been something I've ever been good at. I've never stretched routinely and stuff. So that's something we've been working on. I've gained a lot of flexibility. So, getting down low into positions and being able to literally jump out of them and start running. Um, we'll see how much of a difference it makes. But so far, just from the training that I've done, it's shown pretty tremendous difference.
You're going to be building lean muscle mass, is what I'm gathering. You're not doing any crazy heavy weights where you're trying to build mass muscle.
Yeah,
So I feel like you're trying to stay more around the 180. I mean, look, you could reach 185 just working out even with lean muscle mass because it weighs more than fat anyway.
absolutely.
But I take it you're trying to just minimize your body fat percentage and not gain mass amount of muscle, but yet just become more explosive.
Yeah, that's pretty much the goal right now. Further down the road, I'll probably put on some more muscle, like a lot more, a couple pounds and stuff like that. But the goal right now is really to keep the unnecessary weight off, so body fat, and we're gonna increase weight is going to increase through muscle mass just because I am working out and I'm not too concerned about
Right.
that. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the goal right now is keeping off the unnecessary weight and just incrementally getting into the weight gain.
If you continue down this path, it'll be interesting to see where you are in about 3 to 4 years because you're definitely going to be bigger.
Yeah,
You're not going to be able to stop it, but your frame is big enough that you should be able to manage. 200 pounds should be nothing for you at 6'2". You should still be lean, muscular, quick, explosive, all of that other stuff. So it's going to be interesting to. Now I'm going to follow you just to see how you change physically and what that does to your shooting. This is going to be interesting.
yeah. I mean, it will 100% be interesting to see the results and the differences.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, do you think is your brother doing any of the same stuff that you're doing?
As far as working out, he's not. He does not do much in the way of
Okay.
working out. He does some. He does some occasional stuff in our home gym. We have a weight rack and some dumbbells and a cable machine in our basement. He does work out there occasionally, but as far as I know, it's not like what I'm doing.
So Racegun Nationals was in October. Did you take an off season after that?
I did. I took a pretty healthy off season. I didn't really shoot hardly at all between probably towards the middle of November to the end, just about now is when I'm starting to gonna start kicking it back up. So shooting has been fairly scarce in between there. It's mostly just been dry fire, and it's been a break for sure.
Okay, now when you say so you've taken it probably about a 60-day off season, 75 days, somewhere in there. When you say you've done no live fire, you've only done some dry fire, like how frequent is your dry fire and what are you practicing?
My dry fire is it's just about daily, and it's been mostly with just my carry optics gun. Actually, I've been having some fun with that, getting ready for carry optics nationals. My 2011 actually was just dropped off at the maker, and he's gonna just give it the once over, replace, update some springs, things like that, and just get it to 100% again.
So
And
basically you
yeah,
dropped it off for an oil change and a 30,000 mile checkup.
yep. So that's been out of my hands now. So it's been the carry optics gun, and yeah, like any live fire I've had, has been fun with friends. Actually, I had a friend who goes to school in Texas A&M, and he came back in town, and he likes to shoot, so we go out and shoot some over break, and that's pretty much been the extent of it.
So A&M is a heavy engineering school. Is he getting an engineering degree?
He is going for agricultural economics, actually.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Interesting. So are you going to advise him financially on his agricultural economics?
I could 100% do that. I could 100% do that.
You guys could go into business together after you graduate.
We could.
Boom. There you go. See? You're welcome.
Oh yeah, thank you. Easy client there.
During that time where you're just having fun shooting with friends and doing some dry fire. Is it an everyday dry fire, like 3 days a week, 30 minutes?
I'd say it's about 3 days a week. It was about 3 days a week, yeah. And that was really because I was more or less taking full advantage of it being the off season and between work and school kicking back up. Like I said, it would just be the days really got long on me in the beginning since I've gotten used to it. But those days were really long, and it would be probably just the weekends if I wasn't, just working more. But yeah, I drive around on the weekends for sure, and then I try and find some time during the day, particularly on school days, if I was home, to get just like 20 minutes in, if I could.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think that's a good way to take an off season, not necessarily lose so much that you have to, get anything back. I mean, you're maintaining just by doing what you're doing, and then now you get back into it, you can start progressing again. So that brings us to where we are today. So now you're starting to get back into training again, shooting training.
Yep.
You've got Carry Optics Nationals coming up in 5 months. We're only 5 months away. So this would literally be like mid-May last year before limited nationals. That's where we are if you were to compare the two. When you start getting back into training, like right now for June, what does that look like? Like, what percent is dry fire? What percent is live fire?
So yeah, if we were to get into it right now, it would probably be actually a fairly low percent of live fire, I think, relative to some people. I'd say like 20% live fire, um, because dry fire is going to be just about daily, and live fire, um, we are busy. As I'm pretty busy, and Scott's also pretty busy, especially with school, and he'll have a job here in a little bit. So live fire is something we're gonna try and plan, like more or less schedule, take it out of our work schedule, and just set aside more time this year. Last year, it was kind of, if the schedules aligned, it happened. So it wasn't a consistent thing, or really as much as we wanted to do it, probably. But this year, that'll hopefully that'll hopefully happen, and we'll be able to live fire a little bit more than we did last year.
Now, when you live fire, I assume, like most people, you've got drills that you're going to work on or specific skills you're looking to improve.
Yep.
Is there anything from last year that you say, okay, these are the things I was 11th last year. I want to be in the top 10. These are the things I need to work on.
Yeah, the big one for me that I'm going to start off the year hot in is coming into positions and exiting them. Basically, like efficiency of movement, coming in, shooting, maybe keep momentum shifting in one direction or the other if it's possible. Just being as efficient as possible in those areas, because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come in, I'll shoot while I'm coming in, but I'll stop, and then I have to get going again. And if I could just make kind of those smoother, I think there's some tenths to be had there, and those tenths over a 20 stage match really add up. So I think that's a big thing for me. That was my big takeaway, was efficiency of movement, which is also where the training has come in.
And I just had Nils on, um, and he had even posted a video of it. I mean, as much as he's won, he said this, he's working on the same thing. He's like, I need to do better moving into and out of position. So it seems like it's one of those skills that you're constantly working on, constantly refining and getting better at.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you ever listen to Steve Anderson?
Not a lot, to be honest. Um, yeah, I haven't listened to his podcast very much.
It's interesting because he says, you know, he talks about it, and he calls it pausing instead of coming in and coming to a hard stop. Just kind of pause shortly, do what you need to do, and then keep moving along. So there isn't that come in, stop, then restart like you're talking about. You can almost kind of almost like there's a transition period from one movement to the other. You know, you're in that transition moment and then moving along.
Yep, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Okay, there we go. Now, was there anything in particular last year you feel at one of the matches you're like, man, if I had been able to do this better at this match, I might have been able to blah blah blah.
Probably steel, shooting steel. Um, a lot of times, I'm, you know, it's easy to rush on steel. I think, you know, whether you're shooting just a hair early on your transition, you're just breaking that shot a tad early, but also just making sure that your sights are there. You're not making some erratic shots on steel. That I think was a big thing for me. In particular, at Area 3 last year, I remember that really ate away a lot of my time.
Makeup shots on steel?
Yep.
Okay. How good are you at calling your shots?
Okay. There's sometimes where I make a perfect call, and then there's other times where I have a makeup shot that I really didn't need that I thought I did. So, and when you have those shots, when you have those makeup shots that you really didn't need, you know, two alpha or close alpha Charlie or something, and you thought, one maybe wasn't even on the paper, it was a delta or something. Eat some time, and it annoys you because you just think, I don't know why I did that, but I thought I should, So that's calling my shots is something I've gotten better at. But I think there's still some room to improve there for sure.
So you have a personal training for your physical development. Do you have a trainer you work with for your shooting development?
Absolutely. We've been fortunate enough to have a gentleman named Merle Eddington. He lives locally. He shoots locally. He's a previous national champion in USPSA. He's spent a lot of time with us, refining things and just making small adjustments and, just making very particular changes that he sees. And that's helped us make those small jumps up the leaderboard. And then we've also gone outside of local to different training places to get some advice.
Have you taken any classes from anybody other than Merle?
Yeah. Merle is the main one. And then we've been to the summit. So with Ben Steger, Joel.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually going this year. We went the past 2 years. It's been awesome. We've learned a ton. So we've continued to go to that, and we've trained with them. We've trained with Ben before, and we've trained with everybody who comes to the summit. And there's always a lot of things to learn. That's a lot of eyes on you in 3 days. There's a lot you can pick up.
A lot of different things, absolutely. But here's something that you can ask Mason about then. I just had him and Kay on, and he talked about one of the things he needed to do better was shoot steel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching his Pan American Extreme Open they just had, and sure enough, he's ding and sting steel. One round hit on all the steel. Might be something to find out what he does differently now to
100%.
make sure he's hitting the steel.
Yeah,
because I believe he's one of the instructors.
He is. He's one of the big names up there.
Yes, he is. So there you go. There's something to talk to him about. Now, what are your thoughts on forecasting the future of competition shooting here? Trainers, and I don't want to say coaching. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Shooting coaches. Do you ever foresee, now you're young, but still, Do you see where people might end up having coaching available to them while they're shooting matches?
While they're shooting matches, um, yeah, I mean, obviously not while they're up at the line and things like that. But if you're a new shooter and you're in the back and you've got a coach or somebody who is in a coaching position and they're giving you some advice, yeah, that's, that's something I could see.
We'll take last year because obviously we haven't shot this year yet. But last year, whether it be at Carry Optics Nationals or Limited Nationals, do you think there would have been a benefit in between stages being able to talk to somebody who's watching your shooting? Like, say Merle went with you, or you're in a position. Talladega's okay for reception,
Hmm.
where you could literally, let's say you and your brother are on the same squad. Now, this is a crazy scenario, but you and your brother are on the same squad. So he's videoing you, but he's also, Merle is able to watch you shoot the stage. Do you think there would be benefit then afterward? Like, you're back there getting your gear prepped, getting ready for the next stage, going through your mind what just occurred, where you and Merle could then talk about what just occurred on the stage and what to do going forward with stages.
For me personally, I don't think a stage by stage recap would be good for me personally. I think that by the time you're three or four or five maybe stages deep into the match or that day, now you've all of a sudden got a ton on your mind of what you need to focus on a single stage. And I think that could just get maybe a little bit too much. Um, but 100% at the end of the day, you're in your hotel room, Airbnb, whatever, and you're looking back at it, and somebody says, if I had to pick two, three things that maybe you want to dry fire tonight or practice tonight in your living room with, whether it's footing or something like that, um, that 100% is a good idea. I think that would not at all be a problem, but that would be for me personally, I think the best case scenario.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I mean, look, there would have to be, in order to really get coaching involved, there'd have to be more money involved in the sport. I mean,
Yep.
nobody's really winning anything monetary wise in the sport, but I always look at golf. They have their coach who's available, and they'll go over stuff before, hole 17, they're talking about what they're going to do. So, and that's how I kind of compare, or that's what I compare it to. And I know that I had a guy who shot with JJ at Area 8. Maybe it was 2021, I think it was. And, his dad was there with him, and he was kind of like, they would talk about stuff in between stages. And it was almost like his dad was kind of still coaching him a little bit. They were talking about different things with stages. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I've never, yeah. I mean, the golf analogy is a good one. I got big into golf. So
Mm,
yeah, it's kind of a caddy more or less.
yeah.
They've been around the block and they know what the greens are doing and things like that. So they know. Yeah, no, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about your training at the beginning of the season. How does your training change, we'll say, mid season?
So yeah, mid season it would be my training would develop into more of what I know I need to work on to taking things from matches, taking my highlights from the matches, and really bearing down on those in live fire and dry fire training, and then go to the next match, look for and see if there was any progress, see if what I did was good, and then also draw something new. So it's kind of this ever the snowball effect of pulling different things from matches, finding new things to work on, and then that's how I'll make my last final practices leading up to nationals. I think the most beneficial for me.
So what is that? What does that training look like, say, in the last 6 weeks before limited nationals, Racegun Nationals?
So yeah, it would be. I'll literally have like notes, on my phone or something like that. I'll be watching my match videos in the car ride home or something like that, and I'll be looking at the videos and I'll type everything into my notes on my phone, and then I'll come to the range and I'll either use drills that Merle has taught me, or things from a Ben Steger book, or things that I've learned from a Ben Steger class, and I will do them, and I will evaluate the cold run. The cold run is really what I also look for. Is you don't want to get in and try kind of gradually get into it and then start counting these runs. I want to evaluate the cold run, see where I'm at, and then really bear down on individual parts of that, whether it's transition, paper to steel, distance, things like that, hard covers, moving into a position or shooting on the move. It could be so many things, but I like to really isolate 2 or 3 things to do in one drill. I don't want to shoot a stage or something like that over and over in a practice scenario. But yeah, that is really what practice for me looks like.
Okay. Did you see Eric Graffel was just in Florida teaching a class?
I did see that. I heard about it.
I didn't hear about it till I saw the postings of it. I was like, oh, that's got to be a pretty amazing class. I saw where he had posted he was shooting 1,200 rounds a day before World Shoot. I was like, holy cow, that's a lot of ammunition.
That is a lot.
Wow. I've never heard anything like that. That is a lot.
That's pretty impressive.
Very, very impressive. Now, and it was interesting too. I don't know how much you saw of what people were posting, but he literally was only allowing people to shoot stuff one time. Like, this is it. You get one chance. That's it. Better make it count. So it sounds like he's got a very interesting thought process in how he trains as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's got a very particular way.
What does your shooting schedule look like this year?
So far, the matches we have on our calendar are Ozarks Classic, which is a fairly local match for us. It's just down in Billings, Missouri. It's about 2 hours. And then we have Dragons Cup. We're finally making it down there. We haven't the past 2 times. And then we're going to plan on going to Area 3 and Area 4, Carry Optics Nationals and Limited Nationals. And then we'll have a couple of other level 2 matches, probably maybe the Cornhusker Classic up in Nebraska, Free State, which is the most local match to us. It's a 20-minute drive from our house. A lot of times we actually work that match. And then there's another local match, semi-local match down in Ozarks, basically. It's Fall Classic. And then we're going to also go to Iowa again. Those are, just off the top of my head, the highlights, basically the top matches that we make a regular appearance at every year.
That sounds like a pretty good list. Now, how far is the drive to Iowa?
It's about 4.5 hours, 4 hours.
That's not bad at all. No, that's easy. Now, how many majors are you getting in before Carry Optics?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think about three or four.
Okay.
So not a lot, but we'll have to see if we can maybe pick a couple up between now and then. But that'll be more of a. I think we'll probably shoot matches in limited, major matches in limited, but practice mostly in Carry Optics leading up to that.
That's intriguing. I was about to ask you, I was assuming you were going to be shooting all carry optics up to carry optics national. So what is making you split it like that?
Um, I mean, I don't know if that's 100% going to be the plan, but I mean, depending on the match, maybe depending on who shows up for the matches, it could be a good scoreboard check just to see where we're, standing up to
Okay.
these people. Lane Grease is a guy who he's fairly local to us. He's up in Nebraska, so he's always making an appearance to a lot of the matches we go to. So he's a good checkup for where we are. So shooting carry optics against him is definitely something we would probably do just as a checkup. But um, limited is still where my focus is this year, and carry optics is not something I'm going to dismiss, but I'm definitely going to work on it. It's just limited is that little bit more important to me.
I got you. You're not looking to be a national champ this year in carry optics, so you're still focusing hard on limited.
Yeah, limited is still my main focus this year.
So what do you hope by shooting carry optics nationals? What do you hope to get out of that?
Another checkup, confidence booster. If we decide to really invest in shooting two divisions, start being like Nils, pick up a gun and go shoot a division and be a national champion. Um, that's something we're starting to get into. Last year, it wasn't at all a priority. Carry optics was just it was really just to see how good we could do if we just picked up carry optics guns a couple weeks out and shot the nationals. And but this year it's going to be much more of a time investment, I think, and really starting to get to that point where you go into the safe, you pick up a 2011, you pick up the production gun, or you pick up a carry optics gun, you go out and you have a shot at winning somewhere. That's kind of where we want to be.
Nils is more than likely picking up a metal gun this year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. They just came out with their Rival S steel version.
yeah.
So, and I saw he posted a video from this weekend the first time he shot it. And he's like, oh my gosh, this thing shoots so flat. I'm like, oh boy, just what everybody needs. Nils and a softer shooting gun.
It's a pretty good looking gun.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
looks
I
like
got to
it.
play
Yeah,
around with it at SHOT Show, so it was very nice. Prairie Fire. Did you see that
hmm
stuff?
I did see that.
Now, you mentioned Dragon's Cup. Is this your first time shooting Dragon's Cup?
First time shooting Dragon's Cup. Yep.
Okay, that seems to be gaining momentum as a very high quality match. Prairie Fire, though, they just had $100,000 entire prize table, cash, $50,000 to the winner. And they're just looking to grow it even bigger. Is that something you guys have talked about and considered doing?
Yeah, we really were thinking about it doing it last year as kind of a just something to see what it was like because obviously that money is very attractive. Like there's a lot of people, and that's not a small amount of money.
Yeah, no.
So, but I've heard this. I don't know if they've officially said what it's going to be this coming year, but I'm sure it's going to be another very large sum of money. And this year, I think we're going to explore that for sure. We'll make the travel to go to one of those sub competitions for sure.
Well, I know they have purchased Front Sight in Nevada, the range out there. So I'm not sure. I'm hearing rumblings that it may have changed their plans for this year. But because I know initially they were talking about 100,000 last year and $1 million prize purse total for this year. But now I'm hearing rumblings that may not be the case. I don't know. So don't quote me on that. But another 100,000
Yeah,
would still be good.
no, absolutely. That's not. Yeah, like I said, that's not a small amount of money. I'd take that any day.
Now, did you see what the competition was for the first two rounds?
Uh, I don't think I remember. I'm sure I saw it, but I don't really remember what it was.
So it's bullseye shooting for the first two rounds. Nil said he barely made it to round three. So bullseye shooting maybe, or I'll say group shooting, bullseye shooting
Hmm.
might be something you guys want to consider. Not a lot,
Yeah,
just to get used to it, because it's different mindset, different way of
yeah,
doing it. But yeah, I could see that being a game changer in competition, especially if you can draw money to the sport. That would be fantastic.
absolutely.
So, which brings my next question, which is what does the future of shooting look like for Jack Brown?
Um, it's going to be very, very involved with it. It's definitely going to take up a large chunk of my life, my time, and probably money. Um, but balancing it with work and school, and depending on if I decided to go out of state for my degree or not, that would change. But I'd love to keep it a big part of my life and continue to do it for years and years and years.
Do you ever have aspirations to be a professional shooter, or are you looking more like the Christian Seiler model where I'll get a degree, I'll go into corporate business and try to maintain a high level of shooting on the side?
Um, I would have to say probably a career would take priority over shooting full time. Um,
Okay.
but for me right now, I think that shooting is probably it's something I do extremely good, and I'd love to definitely give the national championship a run and see if I could win it.
Is that your goal? Your ultimate
That
goal is to be
that is a goal. Yes,
all right. Now, what about IPSC? Is there IPSC in your future?
IPSC. I'd love to try it. I've never shot an IPSC match before. I'd love to try it because I know it's a lot different in some of the ways, as far as the stages are presented to you and things like that. So I'd love to give it a run. It seems like it's a challenge in its own way, and I think I'll definitely start making that a regular appearance in my schedule for the foreseeable future.
And where I'm going with that is, do you foresee is a world shoot something you would like to do in the future?
100%. I'd love to do a world shoot.
And that goes back to the agility training and what I wanted to mention earlier because IPSC seems to be one of those ones where you've really got to work on quickness and accuracy because everybody has to stay within the boundaries, within the fault lines. Can't step outside of the fault lines. And I feel like that's why I was asking so much about agility, where I think that plays a big part. And, wherever you can get an advantage in that style of shooting, I feel like agility would be one of them. That ability to quickly change direction, move quick without taking huge steps, you know, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You,
never thought about that in particular, but now that you mentioned that, that is, yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, I forget who I was talking to, and they were doing, ladder drills. I'm trying to remember who it was now, and of course I don't. But I was like, that is a perfect. It might have been the Williams sisters. I don't remember, but that to me is a very good drill for IPSC shooting because you're moving your feet, you know, in a short or in a small space very rapidly. And that's where I was asking about agility with the gun being and I could see where doing drills like that and keeping your gun up and on target and doing these drills, man, that could really pay dividends.
Yeah, that being able to keep your sights on the target and keep your eyes and stay focused. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but really being able to stay shifty and use your feet. Yeah, that could be something to explore for sure.
Yeah. If you're able to separate your lower body from your upper body, meaning consciously, so now you've made it subconscious and your feet can do what they need to do while your eyes and everything is focused on what's going on up here. Holy cow, that's a deadly combination.
Yeah, that could really work. Yeah, that could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, for sure. Now, there is a particular question that JBO likes. And that question is, what does your make ready look like? So when you walk up to that stage at Limited Nationals, I guess in this case, Iron Sight Nationals coming up this year, and the RO says make ready, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So me, I'll stand up there. Once they say make ready, I will cock the hammer on my, because I shoot 2011. So I'll cock the hammer, put the safety up, get set like I'm going to draw to the first target, and do the first array if the first array is available. But I will try and do dry fire basically the first array of targets. The first time is the normal speed that I would shoot it at. Then the second time is I'll rack the gun again and I'll represent it and do it about 50% speed. And then third time I'll rack the gun again and do it at just snail's pace, like get it on the target, eyes go to the next target, gun follows, pull the shot, eyes go to the next target, and just really plan it out. Get it ingrained in your memory, pick out particular spots on the target that I want to look at when I'm transitioning and when I'm going to be shooting that array. And then load the magazine, put one in the chamber, put that magazine back on my belt, take one off my magnet, put it in, holster and safety, and then put my left arm down, keep my right hand on the gun for about a 3-second count, drop it, and then go.
So do you, at any point in there, do you visualize the entire stage, or are you just doing that first array and that's it?
Really, all I'm visualizing with the gun is that first array, and then the rest of the stages, I'll think about it in that 3-second thing. I'll just do a kind of a fast forward relay of my plan in my mind, and I'll just go. And from the time I drop my hand and when they're are you ready, stand by, I'm just laser focused on that first array. Where do my feet need to be, and then just get off to, because the thing for me is I just want to get off to as best a start as possible on every stage.
Okay. Now, so a follow-up question then. In between the walkthrough and the time you go up to shoot, so obviously not the first stage because Brown's pretty quick on that first stage. I'm sure there's a lot of times you're the first shooter.
Just about always.
Yeah. So let's say third stage of the day, you're almost in the very back of the shooting order. You've done your walkthrough. You've got 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it is before you actually come up to shoot. Are you constantly visualizing, or what are you doing in that time frame?
So really for me is making sure nobody else is, I don't even want to really, I'll watch other people shoot, but I'm not going to pay attention to their score or anything like that, especially because I just don't, especially if they're shooting another division. That makes absolutely no sense for me to worry about what they did on that stage. If they messed up, I don't care. It's not that I don't want that in my head, So big thing for me is keeping basically everything anybody else does completely out of my mind, and then just kind of reinforcing. Maybe there's one particular spot on the stage that I think requires, to be in a very particular spot or a specific sequence. You have to activate a target or something like that, and I'll just kind of have that on the back burner and just be thinking about it, making sure that I've got it in the right sequence and all that stuff, and just kind of building that just confidence that I know what I'm doing here and it's going to go great.
Okay. Now I can see where you're at a normal major match, Ozark Classic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are you're going to be on a squad where maybe it's just you and your brother. Maybe there's one or two other GMs on there. They may or may not even be in your division. So it's easy to isolate that. You know what I mean? To maintain what you're saying. But You and your brother are going to be on the super squad at Iron Sight Nationals coming up
Yeah.
in September, October timeframe, whenever it is. Now, there's nothing but everybody on that squad's looking to win nationals. So
Yep.
now how are
Absolutely.
you like, oh, I don't want to hear their time, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to see their scores. So how do you maintain that separation?
So yeah, that's actually something I've been thinking about. Because I don't want to get drawn into a race with. I don't want to get drawn into any kind of a race. I don't. Um, that was something that happened to me last year a lot. Was um, you know, I'd find somebody on the squad who was good. Maybe they were a little bit better than me at the time, and they'd shoot this in 15 and a half seconds. Oh gosh, I got to be 15 and a half seconds. I got to at least be 15 and a half seconds. So I don't want that to happen. Hopefully, I'm the one putting the pressure on everybody else. That's the ideal situation. Is I just don't care what they do. That's so. That's something I have been thinking about actually. Is how I'm going to deal with that mentally. And basically, my big goal is ignore them. Like I'm not going to just sit there in the corner and shut up and say nothing and plug my ears and like you said, blah blah blah. I'm going to talk to them. I mean, I'm going to get, you got to bounce ideas off each other, evaluate, certain situations. But when they're calling the times and stuff like that, when they're calling the hits, I'll be out there, pacing the targets and resetting steel or whatever. But I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'll be, focused on myself.
Okay. You know, this brings up another point. Conversation I had with Nils recently about competing. And he made the statement. He goes, I wasn't, and we were talking about Carry Optics Nationals. He goes, I wasn't the best shooter out there. He said, I was the best competitor. Now, what you're talking about is competing. And what I told Nils was, I've brought this up several times. Like, I feel that is an art that not a lot of people fully grasp, is how to be a competitor. And I feel like those guys at that level, like Nils and Max, Michelle, maybe even Max Leo Grandis, I mean, he's dominating PCC. They've mastered the art of competition where they're able to isolate themselves from a great run, you know, and they're able to still shoot their game, prioritize, what the important aspects of this stage are and what their strengths are. Um, and I said, I feel like there's a market there for very good shooters who are looking to take that last step to reach that top pinnacle. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you gotta be able to have more or less like the priorities of what you should be working on. And, you know, for me, when it comes to stuff like that, I used to be terrible with the mental game. Come off a bad run, I'm just beating myself up about it. I'm like, I was stupid. Why did you do that, Jack? Like, you should have gone back, had that makeup shot. You should have slowed down on that steal. See, it's a big mental thing for me, and you gotta like prioritize. Just whatever happened. You can't change that. It's never going to change. So you just gotta work on the future, and just do the best you can.
Is that something you would seek out with someone like a Max Michel, a Max Leograndis, a Nils, even a Ben Steger when you're at the PSTG Summit and talk to him about competing at that
100%.
very high level? Okay.
Yeah, that's something I'd always love to hear people's. Ben's been he's done everything, so he can answer just about any question. So I always am bouncing ideas off of him, and that's definitely something I should explore bouncing off of him. How to be just really like the top level competitor you can be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to it now so I get the number correct. I want to say what, 8-time consecutive, seven or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-time national champion.
Yeah.
So he obviously has a very firm grasp at that very top level of what you have to do to repeat and not collapse at any time. Because I even had the conversation with Juanzik 2 years ago at Optics Nationals. He was leading after day one. And he said he was like out of his mind, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do I do this? I've never been in this position before, you know. It was a very interesting conversation, and I'm not saying everybody would be like that. And he's a very high level shooter himself. So it was interesting that, you know, it affects different people different ways. And I feel like there's a market there for everybody who's on super squad, like open, limited, carry optics, production, the big four, I'll call them. I feel like there is a market there for a class like that, or that instruction, just being able to sit down and chat with them, like yourself, your brother, like Isaac Lockwood, people like that. That's what Nil said. He said Isaac Lockwood was the best shooter he saw at Optics Nationals. He said when he learns to compete, he's going to be very hard to beat. So I see a market there. I mean, is that something that if Ben Steger at PSTG Summit offered an hour-long seminar just on how to compete at nationals and how to be a champion, is that something you would sit in on?
100%. I would be there for it. Yeah, if you could just become somebody who's just basically just stone cold killer, and you can just not let anything affect you mentally. Yeah, you'd be hard to beat.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's where I feel like there's an audience and a need. You know what I mean? Like it's
Oh yeah,
there.
there's a demand for it.
Absolutely. There you go. That's what I'm looking for, a demand. Thank you. Well, Jack, that looks like that's all I've got. Is there anything you want to
All
add?
right. No, I don't think so. Thanks for having me on. It's a
Okay.
lot of fun.
Oh, shoot. Thanks for coming on, man. These are awesome
Yeah.
conversations. I love them.
No, yeah. It was great to be on. I look forward to seeing it. Final product.
Okay. Yeah. And I hope to have you on again. Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll bring you on at the end of the season, and then we can talk about what your training was during the year, what your results were, and you, if you felt your training worked towards your results.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, man.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.